Hello and welcome to this week's episode of TBBBAP.
That's two best brothers bitching about ponies.
I'm Keg Standard.
And I'm Phantom Horn.
Today we have a special surprise for you. Before we get to the Pinkie Pride review, we have an exclusive interview with the writer of today's episode, Amy Keating-Rogers. Amy, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
Amy, the first thing we want to know is, how did you feel when you learned you were going to be working with Weird Al Yankovic on this episode?
We were very surprised by it.
Oh my goodness, Amy Weather-Williams, you are hilarious. Just like in Cutie Pox, when you gave sweet, innocent Apple Bloom a deadly, debilitating disease. By the way, how was torturing that sweet, sweet angel?
It was a blast because it was like, what are the various things? And, they all had to be physical and more, as you piled them on, just more horrible for her. We were just adding.
You monster. Now, your most recent episode was Mystery on the Friendship Express, and I gotta say, I went into that episode with impossibly high expectations. Now tell me, why were they not met?
I'm sorry.
Too little, too late.
On a serious note, Amy A. Larson, have you accepted Jesus Christ as your personal savior?
I did.
Ha! Gotcha, bitch! Everyone knows the true Holy Trinity is Celestia, Luna, and Twilight Sparkle.
Lauren had actually come up with a number of those ideas in the original Bible.
Bible? Are you saying that Lauren Faust is God?
Lauren Faust and I are imaginary friends.
Thanks for clearing that up for us.
I've been wanting to ask you about my unique headcanon in which Scootaloo has no parents. What are your thoughts?
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Called it.
That must have been really difficult for her.
Oh, she probably deserves it. Riddle me this, Amy Egan McCarthy. What are your thoughts on shipping? Do members of the production staff like to ship?
Yeah.
Ooh, how do you ship Pinkie Pie?
Going for somebody older, because she's so childlike, is a very fun choice. And maybe an obvious choice.
You don't hear this shit on the hub.
Oh, what about our OTP?
Oh, yeah. Rarijack.
We don't really like that one.
What? Oh my god, how can you not
that
understand
is just
the characters
last
you're working
straw.
with?
Clearly, the
Applejack
writers
have
don't even
chemistry.
understand
Did you
their
even
own
see?
fucking
Work
characters.
before you
It's
sleep.
been
There were
2
innocent
years
men.
since the
There were
last
ones that the
Rarity
tension was
episode.
palpable.
So,
If
if
you
one
want fast
jump
repair,
the
you
shark,
have no
I
patience
call
for that
fucking
bullshit.
polarization
What
of
you saw?
shenanigans.
Flash
That's
sensitive
so
episodes, huh?
So, Weird Al episode. Let's get this over with.
Yeah!
This episode was incredible.
Hell yeah! You nerds think we got nothing to do but bitch about this show? Absolutely not. We hold the show to a higher standard, and this episode delivered.
This episode was great in every way. It looked great. It sounded great. I felt great when I watched it. This episode was amazing, and we're gonna tell you why.
So this episode we meet Cheese Sandwich, party planning pony rival to Pinkie Pie.
So Cheese Sandwich is a great antagonist for Pinkie Pie, but never a villain. Every time he's given the opportunity to do something evil, he never takes it. He doesn't actively try to exclude Pinkie Pie from the party planning. He doesn't relish his victory over her in the goof-off. And in the end, when he explains his history with Pinkie, we see that really there was no ill will on his part. It was kind of just a misunderstanding by Pinkie, and really Cheese Sandwich is just down to clown, and I think that's great.
Weird Al Yankovic is absolutely perfect playing a silly singing pony like Cheese Sandwich.
He's so perfect as Cheese Sandwich that it really makes me wonder whether he was picked for the character of Cheese Sandwich or whether Cheese Sandwich was written for him.
Yeah, before the episode, I just assumed that they kind of were like, let's put Weird Al in an episode. But after seeing it, they're so perfect.
It's so good.
I don't know anymore.
I especially loved when during the goof-off, he starts singing a polka-fied parody of Pinkie's Smile Song. That is a reference that fits with the character and goes with the story and doesn't get in the way or distract you from anything. It was perfect.
It was the perfect kind of reference. So you know how Cheese has his cheese sense? he's kind of got like a higher level version of the Pinkie sense, you know? He was able to sense where Pinkie was, that there was a party going on, and he even knew that like Pinkie was there and that she also had a Pinkie sense. He knew all that.
It made me wonder if that vague fortune-telling ability is like somehow in the lore of Equestria, like intricately tied in with the nature of being a party pony.
Some people have speculated that it's like an Earth pony thing, but maybe it's a party pony thing.
Or maybe it's an element of laughter thing.
Maybe it is an element of laughter. Well, are you saying that Cheese Sandwich is a potential element of laughter?
I think you'd be pretty good at it.
I think he would be pretty good at it.
But why is Cheese's sense better than Pinkie's? And in fact, why is Cheese kind of so much better than Pinkie at everything?
Well, here's the thing. I mean, he looks like he's a little older than Pinkie. That's something. Maybe he's just more experienced.
But he's been partying for less time because he learned to party from Pinkie.
Shit.
No.
That's right.
Yeah, and yet, even though he roams around from town to town, where does he get the money? We clearly see that he has way more resources at his disposal, and it lets him throw, let's be honest, way better parties than Pinkie does. He brings a roller coaster. Pinkie can't compete with that, so I just want to know how he does it. He comes off as like a legitimately better party pony, and it's like, why?
Frankly,
like, there's gotta be a reason.
Phantom Horn, I think, I hesitate to say this most of the time, but I really think you're just overthinking it. I think this is just the stuff that he comes up with. Who knows where it comes from? This is just the cheesy thing. He produces roller coasters out of nowhere, and maybe he's just, I don't know, he's just got more imagination than Pinkie. I don't know.
Well,
I'm not even worried about it in the slightest. Doesn't bother me one bit.
I would have enjoyed the episode more if they had been portrayed as more equal.
Okay. Hey, wouldn't it be cool to see if Pinkie could produce more, like, interesting parties after this episode? If she was able to produce, like, giant bowls of punch or roller coasters, maybe she learned a thing or two from Cheese. Maybe.
That would be rad.
Yeah. One of the things I loved most about the episode was the music. Now, it wasn't quite on Magical Mystery Cure level of sheer bliss, but it was right up there. Pinkie's, like, Revelation song, the song at the beginning, the song at the end, they were so good. I loved them. I legitimately teared up at the end of Cheese's song at the end of the episode.
I too had feels at Cheese's song. Cheese's song really hit me, and I was like,
it was awesome.
Oh, you're right. It wasn't quite Magical Mystery Cure, but this was still top tier MLP music. And the fact that there was so much of it, like, I love that, like, music heavy format.
Me too. And you know, no episode as like a one-note story has hit me the way this one did. Magical Mystery Cure was the culmination of the entire series, and that's why it was so good. This was one episode that brought me to tears.
This episode was like Magical Mystery Cure in a lot of ways, but yeah, it was a much smaller story and a more self-contained story.
And in some ways, that was a strength.
I love small stories with low stakes. And despite what Pinkie Pie says, the stakes really have never been lower.
They've never been lower.
But not to Pinkie. It means a lot to her, and that's all we need. We don't need them to go on an adventure to the northern lands and fight the fucking Tatzel worm. I don't care about that.
Not at all.
I care about feelings, because I am a man.
Gay. About Pinkie, she was spot on this episode. She didn't act like an idiot, and she didn't backslide as a character. Now, for example, for Rainbow to learn her lesson about loyalty, she had to actually forget how to be loyal, but Pinkie didn't forget a thing and actually learned a new lesson. And if you notice, at the end of the episode, we see Pinkie writing into the diary, presumably with the lesson she just learned, but we as the audience are expected to know that. They don't force-feed it to us, and I appreciated that.
Yeah, there was a lot that was put into this episode, but that we weren't beaten over the head with, like jokes and references, like when Pinkie Pie puts the cupcake in her eye when she makes the promise, or how young Minuet, a.k.a. Colgate, had braces.
Oh, not to the bronies!
Not to my bronies! Woo! 2014! But about the moral of this episode, I actually think it was pretty complicated. Like, what do you think it was?
I would say that the moral is don't let your attachment to your identity interfere with the lives of those around you in a negative way.
Yeah, maybe something like that.
Some kind of deep. I know they were trying to force feed us, like, okay, Pinkie Pride, name of the episode, right? And Pinkie even says, like, my pride got the best of me. But frankly, I don't really think this was pride. I think this was an issue of, like, deeper self-identity, like in Party of One.
I think it had something to do with Pinkie Pie taking herself too seriously. as a party pony, because like at the very beginning when she's on Rainbow Dash, like, do you understand that we're gonna have the best party in town?
Yeah.
And Rainbow's like, she's not into it, and then she gets mad at Fluttershy, and it's like, this is supposed to be a fun thing, these parties, but like her attitude about planning them is not a very fun one.
Now, was it just me, or were Pinkie's friends just kind of assholes to her with the way as soon as Cheese showed up and started flipping his rainbow balloons around, they just like totally blew her off and were way more into his parties than hers?
Yeah. No, it wasn't very cool. It was really insensitive, and I know they apologized at the end, but like, I think they should have apologized a little harder. You know who got screen time in this episode? Diamond Tiara and Silver Spoon, and they didn't even need it.
Yeah, the fact that those two got a focus, even for 30 seconds, really shows how packed with content this episode was.
And I want to see more of this in future episodes. I want more little bits here and there that characterize like the minor ponies around town. Like, we might never get that background pony focus episode that we've all been wanting so much.
Big Mac, someday will get your episode.
but a good substitute would be just a little bit here and there in every episode, for like, a little bit of Diamond Tiara, a little bit of Big Mac, a little bit of Fancy Pants,
Just like this episode.
Pinkie's face
was awesome this episode.
That one face was nuts. And then it was immediately followed up by this other face, which, if that first face hadn't happened, would have been like a really great face in its own right. Probably a pretty memorable one that people made memes of and shit. But now we've got this other one that just takes the cake for like the whole series as far as I'm concerned.
It was pretty amazing.
But is this episode perfect? No. I have a couple more gripes. 1. How does Pinkie get 3 new jobs in one day? And why does she get them at all? Like, she's looking for something else to do with her life besides party, but she already has a job that she's good at Sugar Cube Corner, so why not do that? And 2, the intro scene, it isn't bad, but if you took it out, the story would basically not change at all, so it's a little bit superfluous.
However, those can't compare to the magic that this episode held. Great characters, terrific music, beautiful animation, and perfect casting has made this one of, if not the best episode of the series. This episode has ushered in a new age of enlightened MLP episodes, and if Lauren Faust were still alive today, she would be proud to see her creation so honored.
Shame what happened to Rainbow Dash, though.
Ladies and gentlemen, a moment of silence, please, for Rainbow Dash. And for how radical this episode was.
What is... Amy, we're in the middle of a moment of silence here. Have some respect.
She's an evil enchantress, and she
Amy,
does
please.
evil
We know you're
dances,
upset with how the
and if
interview
you
came
look
out.
deep in
We're
her
upset too.
eyes,
Yeah, there's blame on both sides.
she will put you in trance.
What are you saying? I don't understand. Speak clearly.
Amy, you're starting to disturb us.
What's happening, Keg? What's she saying?
I don't know, Phantom Horn.
What's going on? I'm
kind of freaked out.
I'm scared.